Hey everyone, welcome back to TV Guys, the show that's been watching the same teenagers fight for about 10 years now. I'm Matt,
I'm Brian, and
and
at times it really this season has highs and lows for me.
it definitely does. And, it's kind of at this point that it's more like watching 20 and 30-year-olds acting like teenagers. So it's kind of like seeing police officers on How to Catch a Predator.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, or like so many shows have like, I'm in high school. You're 35.
What's always funny is if like they then bring in new cast, but they have those cast be like the younger teenagers. It's just like, oh, now your love interest is this 15-year-old and you're 27. That's weird.
Yeah.
Well,
So
like Ashton Kutcher, I don't remember how old Ashton Kutcher was when he started that 70s show, but I'm sure you know the trivia about
yeah,
Mila Kunis lying. And she
yeah,
was like, I think it was 14 when
yeah,
she first started filming it. And so he was definitely over 18.
yeah,
So there's at least a 4 or 5 year age gap, but probably bigger than that.
yeah. Because she said I'll be 18 on my birthday. She just didn't say which birthday, which is like seems cheating a lot.
It's a bold move, but the producers, once they found out about it, were like, that's, good for you. That way to con us like that. And they liked her spunk, I guess.
A similar thing. We're already derailed, but like, the thing with on Hannah Montana, her older brother, who like, I don't know what miracle he was on. He was like 30 something, but he looked like he was like 16, and he just kept his mouth shut about how old he actually was because that was right before you could like easily look up how old everyone was.
Yeah. And here's an in universe example for the casting of in the original Karate Kid movies, Ralph Macchio, who plays Danielson. I can't, why is it Daniel LaRusso? There you
Yeah.
go. He is actually older than the actor who plays Terry Silva.
Oh, really?
Yeah. By like 9 months or something like that. It's not drastically older, but
But
Terry looks like he's got 10 years
more
on
than that, with
on
like,
him.
especially with like the hair. But or like, I'm guessing does Ralph Macchio dye his hair to be but to not be gray?
There is a very good chance of that.
Yeah. So I haven't watched Cobra Kai before watching the season. I hadn't watched it since the last time we talked about Cobra Kai, which was a couple years ago. Because there was a gap, and I didn't watch this season until we decided to do a podcast on it. I get the gist. They're all fighting, and they get mad, and there's another karate tournament.
Yeah. And it's amazing the staying power that this show has had. Thankfully, now this was its final season. Although we do have right now the Karate Kid movie debuting. I believe that this is posting around the same time. Maybe it hasn't quite hit yet. It opens May 30th. And so if you haven't seen the Karate Kid movie, that's in theaters probably right now with Jackie Chan, and Ralph Macchio is back as Daniel LaRusso. But they're combining the reboot that they did with Jackie Chan, that's staying
Hmm.
in universe with the classic Karate Kid. So I'm curious to see how much Cobra Kai references there will be. My guess is slim to none, but I want to see whatever they acknowledge from that universe
Well, the
with
thing
this
is,
movie.
so I didn't see the first Jackie Chan and Jaden Smith movie. Is it basically it's like a retelling, like the same story, just with different actors, kind of deal?
Yep, and they switched karate for kung fu, and they switched because Pat Morita was Japanese and Jackie Chan is Chinese. They
Mhm.
switched the location to Chinese village where he
Yeah.
goes.
But that kind of means that if he's coming back as Daniel, that means that canonically two almost identical stories happened simultaneously.
Yeah. But they are kind of, from the trailers, it looks like they're branching it out to be like, well, Jackie Chan's character learned from Mr. Miyagi, but he learned a different way and he learned and channeled it into Kung Fu. And so they're needing to combine kind of his Kung Fu with Daniel LaRusso's karate in order to win whatever tournament thing that they're going in this movie, which I'm like, that's a smart way to go. But that's also the arc of Cobra Kai, of
Yeah.
combining Daniel LaRusso's style with Johnny Lawrence's style, and they're
Mhm.
them thematically learning from each other. So
But
we're
yeah,
using a bit.
question would be: is in the movie is Mr. Miyagi going to be mentioned like every 6 seconds, like he is in Cobra Kai?
Oh my gosh. It is relentless, man.
I feel like it's
And
more than the early seasons.
we finally got CGI Pat Morita. He's
I was
back.
I was gonna wonder, was that CGI or was it like an actor and then they CGI'd the face, or what they?
Oh, I think that's usually what they do, because they usually have like a stand-in. Even for, say, Rocket Raccoon in the Guardians of the Galaxy movies, that's Sean Gunn
Yeah.
is holding the rocket puppet. Is like, this is where he's at all times. I think he maybe did some for Groot, might have, but maybe I'm just misremembering.
I don't remember. But so, Matt, for you and for our listeners, I have a metaphor that can kind of sum up Cobra Kai. Okay, so right now we're on the same side. We're podcasting it together, but eventually, you're going to say something that's going to piss me off, and I'm going to leave, and I'm going to start a different podcast, and then there'll be a third podcast that we'll both be mad at, and so then you're going to leave that podcast and join my podcast to fight the other podcast. Do you see where I'm going? It's like, how many different dojos do they have to leave and quit? And now we're Cobra Kai. Now we're Miyagi-Do. Now we're Eagle Fang. Now we're like.
And if you listened in when I did Movies on a Monday, we would, at the end of the first season, we'd have Terrence Talley coming back, and he'd make a triumphant return, and then he'd take over one of our podcasts, and then that person would be forced out into a different podcast. And so, boy, that really is what it is. It's it's kind of a little political. It's 90% soap opera, and then there's there's a lot of action sequences in it as well.
That second to last episode with the boat scene was so soap opera. I'm like, I didn't see it coming. It was dramatic. I didn't see a massive murder suicide.
No. So here's what I'll say, because when this show came out, it was honestly, to me, it was must-watch TV. It was really good in those first couple seasons, and it's not like it deviated too far from that premise, but this is just a show that overstayed its welcome. Plain and simple. They had to keep raising the stakes, and they had to keep doing similar things, and so it's not like the writing so much was like terrible. It just, or even was all that lazy, but they just didn't take creative risks to push it into new territories, because they still had to keep it a similar dynamic to what they started it with. And that is hard to do. Let's be honest. It really is hard to reinvent yourself. And so keeping it the same that they did ended up creating, in my opinion, a little bit of a lackluster season. And I was feeling that way even last season too.
Yeah. I know. I started watching the season. I was like, there's 15 of these things.
That's why they split it up into 3 seasons. Like, I know you guys can only handle 5 at a time. We won't overload you.
Well, in the early seasons, there was so much development with the kids. I mean, with Eli becoming Hawk, and Sam starting karate, and Miguel and Robbie. We get to see but by the time we get to now, they're all just good at karate. They all found it. I mean, there's a few drama things. One thing in particular I want to bring up. But there really wasn't a whole lot left. They tried a little bit with Devin and Kenny, but our main students were kind of already there.
Yeah, it was hard for them to find new conflicts, because that's also one of the problems with shows like this, or the Fast and the Furious franchise, or any other thing where when you introduce a villain, it's only a matter of time before that villain becomes on the same team as the good guys, because everyone is misunderstood. We need someone. Thankfully, they did keep Terry Silver as always being bad all the way through. Yeah. Even though they introduced him as maybe he's morally just gray, they let him be just the bad guy all the way through. And I feel like we as society need to have more movies where it's okay for the bad guy just to be a bad guy. Not every villain needs to be misunderstood in order to be interesting.
Well, I like that they turned it around at the very end with Kreese. I mean, he wasn't misunderstood, and he owned up hey, I don't think I deserve mercy or forgiveness, and you weren't really for sure at the end, but that was a baller move, because he knew that Terry Silver was gonna go and threaten Johnny's family, so for him to protect him by going hey, we're not gonna do that, and then at the end oh, I guess I can just kill us both. We're good.
Yeah. uh, since this was so late and I was going to save it for talking, but we're here
Yeah,
anyway. I wanted to real quick talk about the best acted scene in all of Cobra Kai, and that was the last scene that Johnny and Kreese had together
that
when
was a
they're
good
really
one. Yes,
pouring their hearts out. And Johnny Lawrence, oh my gosh, I'm blanking. What's Johnny Lawrence's actor's name?
William Zabka.
That's it. But yeah, Billy Zabka, as he's
Mm-hmm.
known on How I Met Your Mother.
Mm-hmm.
Billy Zabka or William was just really like allowing himself to act in that because he'll do a lot more subtle acting and doesn't really he gets kind of the pissed off thing, the yelling, and then he gets the like I'm kind of dumb, I don't understand what's going on sort of like arc, but he rarely has the dig deep, find that hurt that you've carried with you for 30 years and bring it to the surface. And he was allowed to do that in that scene.
Mm-hmm.
And the way Crease's character actor was responding as well, and both of them just back and forth, that was a really powerful scene that I'm like, where has something like this been? If we had more of that type of scene peppered in where they really just allowed us to watch these characters shine and have heartfelt moments instead of knowing we just need to get to the next fight in like 3 scenes. So let's do what we have to do and get there. I think we could have had a better show.
Yeah. No, I agree completely. And that was the pair to do it because this whole show, even though Ralph Macchio, I think, is like billed first, this is the Johnny Lawrence story. This whole show, he's the main character of it.
Yeah.
We're following his redemption arc more than anybody else's. And it was that big thing about he's the one who brought Kreese in. He always wanted to have Kreese's approval. And then when he started to realize like he was learning how to not be a douche, but then Kreese was getting worse and worse, it was gonna come to that conflict at some point.
Yeah. And that just kind of speaks to the negative side of the pacing of this show. I understand why you need a fast-paced show for a show like this, and 90% of the time that works.
Mm-hmm.
But then when they have their serious moments outside of that one scene, it feels like it goes so fast, and then it comes off almost like that. And I know this is trying to emulate the feel of the 80s movie, but it does have the 90s feel of that saccharine, like the Full House, like let's sit down and talk about what we've learned, and I'm going to state my feelings, and our scene is going to be about 3 pages of script, and that's it. And it just feels like it's so rushed, and it doesn't allow moments to breathe, and so it's disingenuous. And that's why I did like that scene so much, because it finally did not feel disingenuous for the first time in the show, I think.
Yeah. And then on the other end, the one that was so rolling my eyes, this whole storyline, which I feel like they never knew what they were doing. Like, oh, Mr. Miyagi has a secret past. We were going to figure this out, and Daniel's going to be completely obsessed with it. And then at the end, his mom's like, oh, yeah, I'm going to tell a story that Mr. Miyagi told me that I never told you that will clear up everything like a neat little bow.
To show how forgettable that storyline is, I knew that he had that as a motivation for him, but I never bought into it so much to pay super attention where it like was locked in my brain. I don't even remember what the resolution was because I'm like, oh, you're okay. That's his arc this season. Got it. Cool. Let's move on.
Yeah. And there's one moment that was like so abrupt that I actually like backed up to see if I missed something or if I accidentally fast forwarded the episode. Like, oh, nope, that's just how it was. So at the beginning, the main 4 kids, Tori, Sam, Miguel, and Robbie, they're for once all on the same side. None of them are on the like enemy side, quote unquote. Yeah. And I was like, okay, well, someone's going to get mad at someone at some point. It's going to happen, right? And I was waiting for that. But then nothing really happened. No one got mad. They were all saying, hey, Tori, we just found out your mom died. We're going to be here for you, support you. You don't have to fight right now. And she's like, no. And she leaves. And then the next time we cut, all of a sudden, now they're in Barcelona. They're at the karate tournament. Kreese is there. They're like all look at each other. Then Tori walks in as Cobra Kai. Like, what? They didn't do anything to her, and we didn't see her storm off. We didn't see anything. All of a sudden, okay, we're just going to jump ahead And that's like, I have to have missed something. Nope.
Yeah. The writers' room, in an interview, they're talking about how they had so many permutations of the 6 that were going to Barcelona, and
Yeah.
like cases for everyone. Of course, they knew all these people that had to go, and so like when they're reading and Hawk doesn't get it, and Dimitri gets it over him, the actor who plays Hawk is just like, are you kidding? I'm going to be on the sidelines with these other guys. And so then Tori's actress, Peyton List, she was like, no, don't worry. You're for sure. I know you're getting, they're not going to leave it at that. And they didn't. But it's like with the team of writers and the way that you guys are describing it, this is what you came up with. And they're like so proud of themselves. I'm like, I get that you have to set the seeds for how the fights are going to go and what thematically is going to be relevant. And you can tell every single season from the first 2 episodes what the final fights are going to come down to based on what problems they're creating and introducing. But even then, it's still like, no one's surprised. No one was surprised at all these people. No one was surprised that you found a way to get her through them or whatever. It didn't feel accurate to how people would react. I think they were just doing it because the writers said to do so.
Yeah, and a lot of you hit the nail on the head. You said a lot of it's predictable. I called the whole thing at the end like, oh, they're gonna come back as Cobra Kai. Oh, yep, that's what they're doing. It became so simple. And you said, oh, like Hawk was, oh, I'm gonna be sidelined. I mean, he got granted he wasn't sidelined in the fact that he did get to go to Barcelona, but Hawk, compared to the previous seasons, was very much sidelined. He got like no big. His only storyline was with him and Dimitri going to college together. He didn't even really get featured in any fights. He was in some group scenes, but he, like, a character who was a big character at the previous seasons was really relegated to like a background character.
Yeah, and that's just so hard when you keep introducing character after character after character, and then even this season they have to introduce these other new characters, and so they give all this screen time, and it makes sense, but they give all this screen time to Sensei Wolf and his I can't remember the fighter he had, and then the other girl that was Sam and Peyton List, like their competition. What was her name again?
Tori?
No. Kara.
Oh, Kara, the
Instagram fighter,
Instagram girl, yeah.
And so it's hard to balance all that. I get it, it is, and just again, it fell apart because there's just so much that they've had to do all these seasons. I can't knock it because it stayed true to what it was that when it started, but it lost the charm of the first couple seasons by just doing like every single thing turns into a fight. You looked at me wrong. We're going to fight about it. I'm misunderstanding something. We're going to fight about it. And they just, at a certain point in this season, when the writers are writing, they just threw out realism. Any like dental floss that they had clinging to realism was cut a long time ago.
And speaking of realism, did they just forget that Kreese was supposed to be wanted for escaping prison? He mentioned it. They mentioned it once. He went to Tori, and Tori's like, "Aren't the police looking for you?" I'm not that easy to find. No, apparently you are, because you're also coaching a karate tournament on a nationally televised event. Is no one going, "Hey, that's the guy who escaped from prison"? It's never mentioned again.
Wow, that guy, and he's back at the place that we would have all expected him to be at too. Man, he's so good at hiding.
Yeah, it's like literally never mentioned after Tori had that one line.
It's kind of like the lampshading they did in The Office when Kelly's doing customer service training, and she's the only customer service person on the day that like they all need all hands on deck. And so I don't remember who it was who asked her, but she's like, how many calls are we missing in order to do this customer service training? I know, right? Like a ton.
Yeah. But it's not so campy that we're supposed to like be in on the joke. I think we're supposed to be taking it seriously, I think is what they want.
Well, the mission failed there, man. Because you can't take a show like this seriously. I said soap opera early on, but because of Miguel and his family, and like the feeling of the Hispanic influence, it feels more telenovela, because it really is that they do these wild swings in telenovelas, and everyone is able to kind of put that behind them and be like, yeah, I'm enjoying this. And so they leaned into it. And I guess props to them for that.
Kind of like Miguel's family, especially because of the Spanish speaking. That reminds me a little bit of Jane the Virgin, which is one of the few shows I started and didn't finish. I got about halfway through and then kind of lost steam on it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it stinks when those shows happen. I hate that.
Yeah. I did talk about negative things. One thing I did like, I said before, I liked even though it could be predictable, I like that they made this Johnny story.
Yeah, because that's what it was all along, and it was what it needed to be.
Yeah, because he was like a jerk a lot of the time, but especially now, even like when he was really pissed off at Daniel, he's like, I'm going to stay and I'm going to coach for the kids and then we're done. So even then, like, he grew such a bond to all these kids, and he was a real mentor to them, which in the beginning, he was really just trying to be selfish and get himself success.
Yeah. Yeah. The Johnny that we met at the beginning of the show is definitely misunderstood. Definitely like clinging to this past. It still has that insecurity about what happened to him, and he's just kind of this walking around loser. But that it's not that he had no skills at all. He was good at karate.
Yeah.
He really was a strong fighter, and he had things to offer. And this whole show has been about him stepping into places where no one is going to view him as having things to offer and saying, yes, I really do. And Miguel was the heart of believing in that. But the journey between him and Daniel, because Daniel, he had great moments, but he's a normal person, so he's flawed. And he was a bit full of himself, of thinking Mr. Miyagi's way is the only way. And so the where they landed in this show was good. There's Miyagi-Do and there's things that he taught that are really good, but there's also some things from Cobra Kai, obviously a lot of bad, that you needed to avoid, and we understand why, but there is some validity to what Johnny believed in his style, and learning how to be yourself while also staying open to other people's influence and the way that they operate, and listening to that. I think there's a lot of good in this show from those themes, but we landed fine on that like 3 seasons ago.
Well, the kids had that right at the very beginning. Dimitri and Hawk were like, yeah, we're going to combine it. It's going to be Miyagi Fang karate, which I thought was a good compromise. And Daniel's like, no, Mr. Miyagi cannot be a Fang. It's sacred. And like, oh my God, I was rolling my eyes at him at that point.
Yeah, I think for this show, where to me it went off the rails, was probably the final what was the season, and it made it through that season fine.
The brawl?
What?
The brawl?
Do you have any idea how little that narrows it down?
Well, the brawl where the kid died at the end of the first Sekai Taikai.
No, actually, it was before that. Because this show has been, to me, on borrowed time. It was way back. I think the first season with Terry was fine, but when they had to come together and they created their Miyagi and Cobra Kai together, and they were learning from each other, and then that first time where they had to fight him, and they fought him together, and they succeeded because they were combining their efforts, and Terry was defeated. I think John went to jail or something like that.
Yeah.
I think that's when it was like, this is a great end point. And I believe we had 2 more seasons after that. And it's like, okay, I'm done.
Yeah, because Terry Silver got Johnny put in jail. Remember, he had a deal with Stingray. He beat up Stingray and framed Johnny for it. So then the next season... Yeah, John Kreese, yeah. So it's confusing because Johnny is Johnny Lawrence.
I literally never thought of that until right now.
Really?
Oh, they both have John names. How about that?
Because last season, Kreese was in jail until the very end when he escaped. Daniel and Johnny Lawrence went to go visit him for advice on how to beat Silver. So he was sidelined last season.
Yeah. Terry's a lot less imposing of a villain than Kreese is, even if he's like, you know, calculating enough and like is a different form of villainy. I like Kreese's villainy a lot more than I like Silver's.
Yeah, I never really got what Silver was after. I think Kreese was really just like, I am the way. Karate is the best thing in the world. But like, none of these people are fighting for money. They're fighting for karate honor.
Yeah. Well, for
I don't.
Kreese, I get his thing. Like, not that I have this for myself, but he has a god complex. I completely understand that from a villain's point of view. Even though it's a very small niche market of a god complex, it still is like having all these teenagers worship him and think he is the best karate master they've ever seen.
Mm,
Like, I get that. He's a very small man for that, but I can understand it. Silver has this like these bigger ambitions of this worldwide karate fame, but it doesn't, it feels disjointed with
yeah.
the rest of the show.
The thing with Silver kind of confuses me because when we first introduced to him in Cobra Kai, remember John Kreese went to him and was like, "Hey, you got to come back and help me do Cobra Kai." And at first he was like, "No, I don't do that anymore. I'm being a rich guy over here." And then later on he came back, and then he eventually became way more obsessed with it than anybody else. So was Silver faking it in the beginning, or what was that switch? Because he wasn't involved in any of this at all until Kreese went and got him. So why was he not involved? Why was he not interested in the beginning, or was he just faking it?
I don't think he was. I don't remember that season well enough because there was a switch that we saw happen, and I can't remember what that was. But I mean, I'm giving credit to them. They think they explained it, and I think they gave an arc there. It's just been so long since I've seen that. Yeah. But we'll pivot here because we've talked a lot of negative, and we keep coming back. There's positive, yeah. And so here's some other positives because there were some good things about this season. When we break it up into 3 chunks, those first 5 episodes, they were classic Cobra Kai in terms of the stakes, but not classic Cobra Kai in terms of the character development. I felt like all of the conflict was not well done. And I think it was just kind of placeholders as they're ramping up for the tournament. And so when they got to the tournament, I felt like the tournament was better than those first 5 episodes. But the thing that was interesting about the tournament was the way that they structured their fights. They brought a little bit of creativity into, instead of just one person versus the other person, first to 3 wins, they had different scoring systems and different rules that I thought was intriguing more than anything else.
Yeah, I go with that because it made it more interesting than just, oh, they're doing the fight again and then zone out.
Yeah, the conflict still wasn't super strong for me, especially the stuff with Robbie and Tori and I can't even look at him and then I get distracted and I lose my focus. Hated it with a passion.
Yeah.
And maybe, I don't know, maybe it's because I'm not a teenager anymore. I don't think I ever had that where I'm like, deer in headlights and like, I just saw the woman I love and now I can't even think about the taste of it. Like, no, you don't have that in real life. Even with people that you care deeply about, even with your crush, you can get flustered in front of your crush, sure, but not like the deer in headlights, I completely forget where I am and nothing else matters sort of thing.
Yeah, no, I'm with you there. The teenage drama been done. It's been done to death on this show already.
Absolutely. Teen drama is a hard sell for me to begin with. If any teens out there are listening and you're like, Matt, Brian, you guys suck, the teen drama is where it's at, let us know because maybe it is just an age thing. I don't know. I don't know if I ever was like big into teen drama though, so no idea. But the last... Go ahead.
This is a little bit off talking about on teen drama. So we just had Easter. For you guys listening, Easter was a while ago. And it was at my mom's house, and my sister and her family were a little bit late. So me and my cousins, my mom still wants like the grandkids to find Easter eggs, even though they're getting a little too old for it. And so we went around the house, we hid all these plastic Easter eggs, and then we started handing the bags to my sister's kids. And her oldest is 15, and she literally said, am I seriously doing this? I'm like, I don't know. Do it or don't. Here's a basket.
See, my niece, who is 3 days younger or 2 days younger than your niece is,
Yeah.
would love to do that still. But she's a little more practical and like she's not like the I'm too cool for this. She's like, more candy, yeah, why not?
Yeah.
So there's two ways to look at that.
I suppose. Back to Cobra Kai.
Oh,
One thing I like. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say the final 5 episodes, and then you can hit the other thing
Oh,
you
yeah.
liked. Those
Yeah.
final 5 episodes, I thought it ended a lot stronger than it began. Those 5 episodes, I mentioned that great conversation those two had. I leaned in because you kind of have to mentally lean into it.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. I leaned into the Kree Silver explosion and death, even though when it got done with the final episode, I'm like, they did nothing with like any sort of scene to say, hey, by the way, these guys died. No one else knew that they died. We had no reactions from any character upon hearing of their death.
Well, not about hearing the death, but at the fight, the Sensei Wolf just said, "Where's Silver?" That's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
The dumbest thing. Like, these characters have known those other characters. Don't you want to see how they would feel about this? But
what I'm picturing is they were in the writer's room, they're blocking out the episodes, and they knew that the very end they didn't want to have any more Silver increased drama. Like, hey, we forgot to write these guys out. What happens? They blow up on a boat. Okay, let's go get lunch.
Well done, Terry. That's a great idea. Now lunch. But I did like. I thought it was a really smart thing to have it be like, oh, Cobra Kai tied. Oh gosh, I can't remember what Wolf's dojo was.
Imagine Dragons.
No, the Iron really. Dragons. Imagine Dragons is the band. The Crouching Tiger, Imagined Dragons, and so with the Dragons and Cobra Kai tying, and then it having to be Johnny versus Wolf, I'm like that was smart. That's a good way to have that conflict wind up, and to allow Johnny to come back. This is his story. We knew it was his story all along.
Yeah,
he needs to be the fighter. He needs to have the final win. That was a very rewarding finish after these 15 episodes that weren't as rewarding of a build-up.
But I mean, yeah, he did the sweep the leg. Did you think he was, because they flashed back, did you think he was going to do the crane kick?
I did, and then he sweeps the leg. I'm like, that makes more sense because that's what he tried to do in the first one and got kicked in the head. That right thing to do.
I was like, but I mean, if he had done the crane kick, you'd be like, okay, I don't think he needed the flashback to the crane kick and then do the crane kick. It's like a hat on a hat kind of thing.
Yeah,
but that's where I thought it was going.
Yeah, I think exactly, and I think too along those lines of Daniel LaRusso donning the Cobra Kai gi or the bandana. I think it was just the bandana.
No, he had the whole gi on.
He did have the whole gi. Okay,
I think he had the Miyagi headband with the Cobra Kai gi. I think is what it was.
That's right. Donning that costume was a great thematic way of saying, "Hey, I'm with you. I value what you've brought to this, and no one else can be here because of you." And I think that because the yin yang is such an ingrained part of martial arts and spiritual balance and all that sort of stuff, having that resolution matched in his uniform, I thought that was a really good imagery to be on the sidelines for Johnny.
Yeah, and then he gave Johnny like a Johnny Lawrence style pep talk at the end.
Yeah.
Instead of it's all about balance, and Mr. Miyagi said, like, no, it's just, go kick butt.
Yeah. It ended on a high note. So they did stick the landing. Can't fault them there.
Yeah.
But
and the ending, I mean, it may as well have been like flash, like when they do a screenshot on a character and the text says, and then Hawk and Dimitri went to college, and then Sam and Miguel went to Barcelona together. I mean, they had the scenes, but that's the
Britta, owner of a used iPod.
Yes, like that. It's a good reference. By the way, I thought of a trivia.
Okay. It is a good reference and fun little thing with that for Community. In the year it said like she owns an iPod in like 2009 or whatever. That
they followed
year,
up on it. Yeah.
yeah, they did. Pierce gave her his iPod when he quote unquote died the first time.
Yeah. Well, no, he did die that time.
He did. I thought he had faked his death, or maybe
No,
I'm wrong.
because the only time after that we see the hologram of Pierce. No, at the beginning of season 5, we see the hologram of Pierce because he was not allowed back. Then
That's
he
right.
died. Then he was only ever mentioned after that.
That's right.
And supposedly there's still a Community movie coming.
Yeah,
I guess it's just scheduling of filming is what's holding it up. So
I know he's a pain to work with, but I would love to see Chevy Chase back. It's not even that I liked his character. It's that there is this role that Pierce brings. And we've talked about that in our Community episodes. But
Yeah.
there is something that Pierce brings to that. That's a great foil for the group. And especially for Jeff's character. But that's Community. We're not talking about it. We're talking about another show that starts with CO.
Yep. But listeners, if whenever they do come out with the Community movie, we will definitely do a podcast on that. So to stay tuned.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I was saying earlier, one thing I liked, and it's kind of dumb, I like Chosen being kind of the comedic relief at different points. It kind of worked for me, especially when he showed up drunk in Barcelona.
I can't remember that specific scene, but I have to agree. I do agree about Chosen being a great comedic relief.
Yeah, and he's another one that was relegated to sidelines. He was not a super important character. He was there for all the big moments, but I mean, it wasn't his story.
Yeah,
but even he got his love story at the very end.
Yeah, that was a weird arc. The Kreese and Korea arc. Like,
oh yeah, with the grandfather who's still alive.
Yeah, at a certain point when I'm watching that, I'm like, especially the snake in the cave thing. I'm like, is this a flashback? What is happening right now? Is he dream? I don't know what literary device we're using. Is this really what is happening right now? Is that what you're telling me, show? That he is legitimately staring down a cobra in a cave? That is where we're at in life.
Yeah, and I agree. And then he was having to have like this spiritual reconciliation about I failed Johnny and I need to be the villain. But then when he went back the first time, he was still a villain. And then he went back to Korea, and he was, which by the way has to be a private plane because I'm pretty sure also commercial airline the airports would flag your ID as being you're supposed to be in prison.
Oh, but no one can stop me. I owned a karate studio in a rental mall in Reseda for 12 years, and I got rich doing it. I've got all sorts of money to burn.
Yeah, he has the immunity idol.
The immunity idol. He's got Ron Swanson's little sheet of paper that I can do whatever I want. Just shows it to TSA, walks through, like, hey guys, can't do anything.
But I mean that whoever the guy's granddaughter, they clearly had a private plane.
Yeah. Clearly.
Yeah.
Those are the type of people.
Also, what's interesting, like we've barely even said the names Miguel, Robbie, or Sam, and they were like the biggest part of the show in the first couple seasons.
Yeah, and I mean there was their stuff going on, like the Robbie and Miguel, and like, do you really belong here? Are you really the best one? And Sam, like, I don't know if I want to do karate, and I don't want to keep fighting my friend, and all this. I'm like, all right, cool, just fight, just do your stuff. I'm running out the clock here on these episodes.
Yeah. What do you think about Stingray working for Cobra Kai at the end?
Oh yeah. Well, anytime I can get more of Paul Walter Hauser.
Hauser, yeah.
Hauser. Anytime I can get more of him, I'm for it. I'm really excited to see him play. There's going to be a movie based off of an old game show called Press Your Luck. And there's a real scandal where this person went on that show and had all of the patterns for that game show memorized. and he was able to deduce and like win big by, in a way, cheating, since he knew which pattern they were going to be using.
Is that the one with the whammies?
I'm not sure. I know it's like a wall of screens in front of you. That's all I know.
Yeah, I thought it was like you hit a button, you hit a button and it lands either on that you win big, or whammy means like, oh, you lost all your points.
And it
I
might
think
have been
that's
that. It might have been
it sounds right. I'm trying to think of what other big stuff from the show that we haven't talked about yet.
Now I'm just interested. I'm looking it up. Watch Press Your Luck TV show on ABC Network. Yes, please. Sorry.
So my girlfriend and her mom love game shows, and over there they always have like a game show on in the background. I probably watched more game shows in the past year than I have like the past 5 years before that.
Yeah, I like game shows. They're real quick. So Bill Murray was originally looked at for that role in that Press Your Luck movie.
Oh yeah.
And then, but that was way back in 2006. So they've been trying to get it off the ground for 20 years, and I think he ran out of patience on it.
Yeah.
But yeah, game shows. Apparently, everyone loves game shows, because when we did an episode about game shows, that was our highest listened to episode of all time.
That was, yeah.
And my dad was just talking to me about game shows the other day when he was talking about Jeopardy, because that Jeopardy came out in the middle of that Press Your Luck scandal. And so it was kind of born out of that, because they're like, well, if everyone knows the answers, then people are cheating and knowing the answers. How can we trust these game shows? And so the producers are like, well, if they know the answers, then let's have them ask the questions. And that's where that style came. And obviously it's the same thing, but somehow psychologically it worked. And people were like, this is different enough. Thumbs up.
That works.
Yeah.
So if we, I don't know what else we do, but if we do another game show one, we should have Sabrina on, because she's a big game show person.
I think if we did, all of us would have to speak the entire time in our game show host voice. And you get a wacky Wengo card.
I suppose I have a voice I use when I did announcing on the rides. I have a hoarse voice for now. Let me see if I can do it. Hey, welcome to Jimmy Neutron's Atomic Collider.
Yeah,
the ride's not even there anymore, but
I'd be like, hey, I want to get off. I know I just waited in like 20 minutes, but can I not do this anymore? Thanks.
No, you cannot. You are here for the long haul. If I talk like this all the time, I bet Matt would end the podcast.
All right, guys. So thanks for listening. I'm Matt.
I'm Brian, and we haven't even gotten to trivia.
We haven't, but you know what? You guys are grounded from it because of Brian's actions. You have to go sit in the corner and think about what you've done. No trivia today.
The audience says, not me.
All right. Well, let's hit you trivia from last week. So last week we had our buddy Paul on, special guest. We talked about the UK version of The Office, and boy, was that an episode. And so in that episode, we're talking about how it's not just the UK and America that have versions of The Office. We asked how many countries or how many different versions of The Office are there? And there are actually 17 different versions of The Office. In Australia, Office was in headlines not too long ago, and I think that was the first female boss of all of them. Maybe I know it was a female boss, but I thought they were making a big deal about it because I think it was the first one with a female boss, but I could be wrong.
I couldn't tell you the way.
Well, you could. I'm your friend. You can tell me anything.
True, but I'd have to know.
Well, that's not the joke.
I'm not good at improvising along with jokes. I don't know what my next line of the joke is.
I don't know what I'm supposed to do.
I have a lot of respect for people who are good at improvising, and it's not me.
Well, I am, and if you need an improv duo to come to your event that you're having, and we do school functions, we do volunteer dinners, we do funerals and tax audits. And so we are Slap Happy Comedy, and we are available for booking. So go to slaphappycomedy.com. And I got a buddy, Eric. It's not Brian. It's a guy named Eric who does this with me. So we go all over. There's your plug.
I'm Matt. I have 2 friends.
Ooh, I'm Jesus Christ. I have 12. Nope, 11. You're dead to me, Judas.
All right. So for today's trivia, 2 of the stars of Cobra Kai, Jacob Bertrand, who played Hawk, and Peyton List, who played Tori, starred together on a movie that is currently on available to stream. Question is, what movie did they star in together?
No one's going to know this. No one is going to know this. I mean, we'll still ask the question, but no one is going to know this.
We've asked obscure ones before.
And if you know that, get out of the house and go do something with your life, because you shouldn't know that. So until next time, I'm Matt.
I'm Brian.
And we're reminding you to stay tuned and keep watching.